Hello. Hello. Oh my god. What a pain in the ass. What a pain in the ass, my friends. Hi, Holman. Hi, Jimmy. Thank you. Hi, Jojo. Prepaid game. Iconoclast images. Boy Wunderkind. Caligix. I am post-winter. Geo. Welcome back. Just Jimmy's. Requisition. Dadalac. Thanks, Tovelcat. Hi, Dingledorfin. Xenolalia. I was getting real mad. So my camera, thank you, Spanker Prime. She's sleeping. I think she's in the other room sleeping. Yep, I see her. She might come in here later. I replaced my webcam a while back with Logitech Brio, and it's a really nice monitor, but there are a couple things about it that are weird. One, it's like very wide. Like the default picture mode is like really wide FOV. The other thing that's really cool about it is sometimes Windows just doesn't recognize that it's there, or it'll recognize that it's there and it'll say, ah, no, no, we can't. Um, I went into my device manager and it was like, yeah, this is, hi, Iga, aren't you in the mountains? Oh, okay, yeah, you are. And so, yeah, Windows is like, yeah, we disabled this. I'm like, cool, re-enable it. It's like, no, no, man, no. I I would just we can't. That's the best error where it's just like, no, we couldn't do it. Anyway, so I had to do a bunch of Windows updates and then restart. So even though it said it was up to date, there were a shitload of missing Windows updates. Then I restarted and it did that. And then I went back to Twitch, and Twitch, I had changed my stuff at work, but somehow it didn't get into my LastPass, whatever. So I had to like reset that password, and Twitch's new password requirements are stupid. Like they're really long. Like I think it's only alphanumeric and real long. Um, and so I had to do that, and then I set it, and then XSplit was like, oh, it's invalid. I'm like, okay, cool. Give me a stream thing from Twitch, and I couldn't find out how to do that. So I had to get the password, and it's not using the web interface, so I couldn't go to LastPass. So then I had to like manually go to. It was stupid. It was very dumb and bad, and yeah. Anyway, cheers. My one cocktail for the weekend. Smooth. By the way, I'm very I did a single block. I got one of those big ice cube um, silicone trays or whatever, silicone trays, and jabbed it, and then I made my big cube. I can't even show you. Trust me, there's just one big cube in there. It's great. This is a bourbon old fashioned that I think I put too many bitters in. I normally use Angostura bitters, and I was using Peychaud's, and Peychaud's is a lot paler. Um, like it doesn't have the intensity of Angostura. And I was like, is that coming out? And I think I put like six splashes of bitters in there. Anyway, hi Lidsoul, welcome back. The cube is basically the size of the thing. Actually, now it's smaller, but I'm trying big cubes for lowball glasses, and especially for old fashions, so it'll dilute. And then I'm using less bourbon. I was using 2 ounces, which this is too much. So I'm down to 1.5, which is probably good because I'm also using I'm using higher proof bourbon. I got the 4 rows single barrel, and it's different. So yeah, so it's stronger. So I'm using less, and I have got the big ice. A Saiba 64. Okay. A wound only damage system in a CRPG? Well, I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but hold on just a second. Iconoclast Images. You're in Fountain Valley, OC for the first time for a film shoot Monday. What's a can't miss restaurant there? Specifically in Fountain Valley or nearby? No hit points. Well, Lidsoul, I'm going to kind of describe a system that's sort of a blend. So let me type out some stuff here. Nearby. Well, there's a nice cafe that I really like in Costa Mesa, which is it's not that far. I would say it's 15 minutes. It depends on where you are in Fountain Valley. You go to Coast. There's a den. It's called The Den in Santa Ana, or you go to The Den in Costa Mesa. They're both very good. I really like the chorizo burrito, but there's lots of good stuff. Check it out. Okay, so let me write down some stuff. I know this is like a weird format, but so wounds in. Actually, I have to remember that the resolution is pretty low. I'm being cheap. I'm still using like freeware XSplit. Let's see here. Let me see. Sure, why not? So wound goals, and pillars. Tabletop role playing game. Thanks, Glurmphonal. So things that I want wounds to accomplish, or rather, let's say damage system goals. Hopefully that's legible. I know this is at like 720p. Is that legible to you? Okay. Just making sure. Because last time I went back and looked at the thing when I was scrolling, I was like, nobody can read this shit. Okay. So, first of all, armor should reduce incoming damage. That might seem straightforward, but I mean, we have armor class in games. I don't like armor class systems. I don't like it when armor makes you harder to hit. I like when armor reduces incoming damage. I like it personally, and obviously that's what the Pillars system did. So, it doesn't have to work exactly the same, but I want armor to reduce incoming damage. Great. Soak, which is the means by which armor reduces damage, should not become a damage. Whoa. Black hole. So what I mean is many games where that have soak or whatever you want to call it, damage threshold, damage resistance, whatever. Well, percentile you can cap it out or whatever, but basically, I don't like it when soak becomes. Hold on, Lidsel. I'm listing out just goals. Armor should reduce incoming damage. So the thing is, I'm listing out goals because the system should try to accomplish all these things, and it will accomplish them ideally equally well, but it probably won't. So I need to look at the goals and shift and decide what's the most important thing. Instead of deciding, I like this mechanic specifically, I need to establish basic goals and then figure out what mechanics work well with them. I've done 3 different versions of damage systems in the Pillars tabletop system, and they all kind of miss on usually the last point, which is speed. One more second. Yeah, that's slower. It's melting much slower. I like that. I took a picture when I was. So soak should not become a damaged black hole. What I mean by this is when armor reduces damage, it shouldn't completely negate the damage entirely. The reason I'm saying this is because in most games that have soak systems, they it's a flat reduction, it's gone. And what winds up happening is that soak then becomes like the uber stat, like the stat that wins everything. If you have a high soak, short of instant kill effects or stun locks or things like that, damage doesn't do anything anymore. So I don't like that. I like for there to be some secondary thing that happens from absorbing. So different ways to handle it, but that's a goal. Soak should not become a damaged black hole. Are there any particular systems that highlight this issue with Soak as an example? Well, it's the most recent one I've played that comes to mind is Ars Magica, but there's lots of games that have Soak. I think Soak kind of works that way in Worlds of Darkness too, doesn't it? Which, I mean, it's another White Wolf, Line Rampant type game. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. You're getting way ahead of what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about goals. Some big hits should, yeah, it's called Soak. Some big hits should cause short-term and long-term consequences. So this is like the idea of the long-term wounds. But the idea is like you get hit hard and you go like, ooh, that'll smart. So for the rest of the adventure, there's something you got to deal with. I like the idea that there's something you have to deal with for the rest of the adventure. I don't think it should cripple you. I'm just saying there should be consequences. And then if you complete the adventure, you have to heal them. It's like, you have to deal with them in the next season. Being hurt should make you worse at doing things and easier to hit. So, Boy Wunderkind, Breath of the Wild has that damage reduction black hole, but forces Link to take 1/4 heart of damage for every hit taken, which is kind of like the systems in Fallout and Pillars 1, which is minimum damage through damage threshold, where it says you will never um, take less than X%, 20%, 40%, whatever that percentage is. I get it. That's much easier to do on a computer than at tabletop. Now, here's the big one, everybody, because I've made 3 systems previously that do all these things. It's not actually that hard to do this. Can be easily calculated and tracked in combat. So yeah, so this is the thing. Like I can make systems that do all these things. I can make a bunch of systems. I have made a bunch of systems that do all these things in different ways. So I've been working with a system that does these, and it doesn't do this. So I have a new idea. Um, McManosaur, that's not a problem because it's that is number 3. Number 3 and number 4 work together. Even like the idea that like I don't think it's bad that if you're bloodied or fucked up that you're harder to hit. Or I'm sorry, that you're easier to hit or you have a more difficult time doing things. That's good to me. I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. Also, this is a symmetrical system. I'll say that's like a sixth goal. Symmetrical. That's not a goal. That's just, I mean, that's just a system that I'm going to do. So the thing is, like, if you fuck up an enemy, yeah, exactly, Connor Sharp. It's symmetrical. I'll just put it at the top. This isn't a goal. Symmetrical, by the way. Kip the Smuggler. Do I ever paint miniatures for tabletop games? Very rarely. I'm colorblind. I'm not, and that's frustrating, especially for painting. It's one of the reasons I stopped doing art. Is being colorblind is very frustrating. Um, I was never very good at painting miniatures. There are some people I know. Matt McLean, who used to work for Obsidian, great designer, he is really into painting miniatures, and he's colorblind, but he seems to do a good job as far as I can tell. But I'm also colorblind, so how would I know? But at least his technique seems pretty good. Um, so let me tell you my new shit. Oh, actually, let me explain the old system. How long will the stream go on? Let's find out. Old system. Might have to make my camera smaller here a little bit, maybe. Maybe let's move over here to the secret zone. Oh, come on, secret zone. Does a wound system that affects skills, vulnerability, incentivize whoever gets the first hit in? Yeah. I think most systems do that, and I also don't think it's a bad thing. Like, you hit someone first hard, great. It's a good job. That's the way I would expect it to work. If I fucking shoot a guy in the chest and he goes, "Hey, I fucking suck for the rest of the battle because I got hit real hard right away." It pushes for a gameplay system style to hit first and hit hard. Yep. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's bad to say you should want to go first and hurt them quickly. I'm not even saying it's realistic. I just don't, whether it's realistic or not, I don't think that's a bad thing to incentivize that. Well, I mean, some people could say, like, well, like, there is something to be said of if alpha strikes are very, very, very powerful, then, you know, then that's the only thing. Like, I don't want soak to become incredibly uh, powerful. Like, I want it to be very valuable, but also I don't want like initiative to be incredibly powerful, such that it's like, well, if you win initiative, they're dead. So anyway, the old system. Why start with damage instead of magic? I don't know what you're talking about. So, or actually, I should say the current system. What? Stopping the prioritizing of alpha strikes is as easy as making sure that alpha strikes are not incredibly powerful, which in the system, typically they're not, unless you're doing some special rogue shit, in which case you want that, right? One of the biggest complaints I've seen from people um, about rogues in, for example, Pillars 1 and also Deadfire is just that their alpha strikes aren't strong enough. That when they hit someone, they expect them to be fucking killed or like insanely fucked up. Because if they aren't, then you're kind of in trouble because that's the whole point of the character type. Yeah, this is any damage. So anyway, current system. Soak. Great. Why is it doing bold again? Soak converts damage to endurance. Two pools. Health and Tycho, because I'm going to do some graphic stuff. I'm going to do some graphic stuff. Hopefully, eventually, if I go long enough. Health and endurance. Armor grants soak. Other things can also grant soak. Soak converts damage to endurance. Endurance is just easier to heal. I'll say that generally speaking. Let's see. Big hits over certain thresholds cause wounds. Wounds reduce max HP until healed. Post-adventure. What's going on here? What are people talking about? Big hits cause wounds. Wounds reduce max hit points until healed. Post-adventure. Oh, there's Batman chat going on. Okay, I see. Big hits cause wounds. Wounds reduce max HP, yeah, health. Max health until healed. Half health is bloodied. Half endurance is winded. Bloodied equals 2 penalty dice, minus 3 to all defenses. I'm going to make this font slightly smaller. Is it using this mic? Is it using this mic? Or is it using the camera mic? Let's find out. It's using this. Oh, weird. Okay. Make this a little smaller because I'm typing a lot here. Winded is 1 penalty die minus 2 defenses. What else? I think that's it. Oh. Armor raises the winded threshold. And there's some other stuff. There's some other stuff like death is at. Those are penalties to all defenses. You're just fucked up. Wound conditions are centered around percentage of total HP. Health and endurance, yeah. The best place to get a table for big RPG setups? Well, Obsidian, we got ours from Uniquely Geek. Let me check something, folks. Let me check something for a second. I'm going to paste this right in here. Hold on. Boom. So these are some obsidianites. Playing on our table. So this is this table isn't very crazy. You can't even see how crazy it is. So it's like, let's see. I think this, yeah, this is the center point right here. I think, or maybe not. There are individual cubbies. So there's individual cubbies. There's a game vault under that. So those leaves, there are a lot of leaves, 14 leaves. And there's a game vault underneath. And there are two panels. One panel has speed cloth. Well, I'm sorry, both panels have speed cloth on one side and regular velvet. It's like Alcantara kind of feeling on the other side. And then below that is like a vault with a acetate sheet that you can put stuff under, maps under. The other thing is that these aren't Aerons, actually. These are Aeron knockoffs, I'm pretty sure. At the other end of the table, that's the actual DM station, and that has two power outlets, two USB plugs, and an HDMI cable. And the HDMI, I've not really had much to drink. The HDMI cable goes through the table, and then it comes out over here. Woo! But yeah, it has 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's the center. Yeah, that's the center. So it has 8 side stations, and then 2 at the end, at this end, and then 1 big one on the other end. They are expensive. Trickier Hades. They are expensive. But since people have been coming back to the office, we use this a lot. And obviously I'm extremely biased, but I think it's important for people at our studio to play tabletop RPGs. So, and it's really nice because people can leave stuff at their, not food, but they can leave stuff at their stations, close it up, cover up the stuff, and it's just a regular table. So it's really nice. Anyway, that's the gaming table. Let me just see if there's... I thought there might be another one. Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, you can see, I have a picture here of it. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I'm going to show a couple more pics of this. So this is when the table was being installed. And that's the game vault. So, like, look at how big that is. That's huge. So it's very big. And it's really nice. And yeah, so that's actually the acetate. So there's acetate on the bottom. Yeah, it's 4 cubbies on each side, 2 on this end, and then 1 big one on this end. I think it's the biggest table that they've made. So it's real big. And then you can see here, so that's those are the panels that go on top. And then you can see on the other end him putting the leaves in. So you can pull the leaves out and then you pull that out, or you can just play board games on top of it or whatever. It's really nice for playing board games on when like the wood surface maybe is a little too slick. It's very nice. It's very nice. Anyway, took a very long time. So there was assembly required data lac, but they did it. So part of the purchase price is that they come and set it up. They drove out from Arizona. They set it all up. I do believe they said it was the biggest table they've built so far. Anyway, back to this stuff. So let me go over this again. 2 pools, health and endurance, armor grants soak. Soak converts damage to endurance. Endurance is easier to heal. And that's basically just because wounds don't, like capital W wounds, don't affect endurance. just health. And also endurance. Generally speaking, any healing that affects health, it's easier to heal endurance, like it heals more. Um, I said before, Orlek, Oriolek, it can't be easily calculated and tracked in combat by players and GMs. It takes too long. It slows everything way down. So health and endurance, armor grants soak. Soak converts damage to endurance. Endurance is easier to heal. Big hits over a certain threshold cause wounds. Wounds reduce max health until healed post-adventure. Half health is bloodied. Half endurance is winded. Bloodied, 2 penalty dice, -3 defenses. Winded, -1 penalty die, -2 defenses. And armor raises the winded threshold. Does everything I needed to do, except the last one. It's not fast. It's just not fast. It's not that any individual component of it is not fast, it's that in practice, it's fucking slow because there's just a lot of stuff there. So, this is kind of like an example of bad. So, you got a guy, and the guy currently has 36 max health, 36 max endurance. 28 health. 30 endurance. Why not? He has 8 soak. He has... He's wearing armor that gives +3 winded. So his bloodied thresh is 18, just normal. Winded is 21. 21. Light wound. Light wound is, I think, 12. Heavy wound, 24. McManusor, the penalty for reaching 0 endurance or 0 health is that you're incapacitated. And there are things that can unincapacitate you, and they will take you to 1, but otherwise, healing of any sort won't get you back up. So if you get knocked out, light wound is 12, heavy wound is 24. So, damage, incoming damage is, I don't know, 20. Sure, why not? By the way, soak is just a threshold. It's not a thing that you lose. So if incoming damage is 20, then you're like, okay, so I take 8 endurance damage is now 22 endurance, but I still have 12 damage left over, so 12 health damage is 16 health, and I am bloodied. I am not winded. I am bloodied. Oops. I am bloodied. I am not winded. I did not take any wounds. So for one player, that's a little clumsy. Oh, I should also say, so effect of light wound is -6 max health, heavy -12. So actually, let me change this slightly to make it even fucking worse. Oh wait, I took 12 health damage. So I took one wound, one light wound. Yes, he does take a light wound. Max health is now reduced by 6, so 30. There you go. So if one character, that's one character, it's kind of a lot. If it's like you're managing two characters, it starts to get kind of not fun. And if the DM, like me, is someone casts Fireball on 4 characters, then it's bad. Yeah, it's 1 attack. So that's a lot. So I don't like that. Does max health being reduced affect bloodied? No. No, the thresholds are the same. But the thing is, you can't heal above that max. You can't heal above that max. So if someone casts a big healing spell on you and you go above bloodied, that's great. But if you get hit again, even a small amount of damage might drop you below bloodied very quickly. It's not good. It's too much stuff. So, I want to talk about what I would like to do. What I'm thinking of doing. I'm not that good of a DM, really. Go community. MDCT, I think you're being a little hasty, but I do think that one of those ideas is correct, which is shifting one of those. I'm not talking, yeah, I don't want to add new features. I don't want to add new features. I do want to change how the components of this I want to keep the components of this, but use them differently. Because the components are doing the things that I need them to do. It's not that they're not doing the things I need them to do. It's this thing. It can be easily calculated. So it's the way that I was going. So yes. So one thing, yes. Wounds, capital W wounds, being a post-combat thing is one part. The other part is moving to discrete chunks or units of health and endurance that are related to damage ranges, which I know is going to initially sound bad, but I think it's easier, and I'll explain why. So, okay, all right, all right, all right. Let's see here. Okay, so I should say that right now, everybody in the game has a basic. Their health is really based off of two things: their size and their tier, which is like broad character levels. So most size 0 characters, which is normal size, normal human size, sorry, elf size, they have 36, 36. And then when they go up to the next tier, they have like 40, 40, something like that. Orlins have like 32, 32. Amawa have 42, 42, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's something like that. And then when you get tougher, you get a chunk up, and that's how it goes. It does stop being 1-to-1, but I think it's faster. Gasper, you're not wrong, but I believe it's faster. In my heart, I believe it. I'll explain why. Okay, so the new shit is everybody has I'm going to call it a damage increment. Damage increment. I'm thinking most player character E's are in the like 4 to 6 range. So what this is, this correlates to like pips. Pips of damage, pips of endurance, and pips of damage. Health and endurance exist as pips. Call them pips, whatever units. That correlate to these increments. What am I talking about? What are you talking about? So the idea here would be Orlins have a DI of 4. Orlins have a DI of 4. So every 4 points of damage is a pip. 1 to 4, 1 pip, baby. 5 to 8, 2 pips. 9 to 12, 3 pips. You got it. Every 4 points, or part thereof, is a pip. It's just 1 unit. And you have a fixed amount of units. So, fixed number of health and endurance pips. MDCT, I think it depends on how it's displayed. I think systems that display these well actually make it fairly easy because you just go up. Gaspar Lewis, it needs to be variable because different creatures are tougher or weaker, so it's harder to kill them. But generally speaking, players play the same character for a long time, and so these ranges, I believe, will become second nature, unlike continually doing 2-digit math on things, I think. There's also a change here. There's other changes here. So I've explained this. I'm going to kind of go back here, etc. So variable range. Well, I think everybody can have variable well, not variable ranges. They're all ranges. A dragon could have 25 unit increments, like really big. So you got soak. You still got your soak. By the way, I'll say an idea I have here that's not super duper important, but I think is potentially interesting, is an idea of toughness. I don't want to derail things, but this is kind of like a you don't do anything. The reason being that single points here of damage can be very influential. So toughness says, no, like doesn't do anything. If it's below toughness, no effect whatsoever, completely gone. Which you could say is like a damaged black hole, unless toughness is extremely, extremely tightly controlled and more like something that's inherent to the character than something that you have to do. Yes, but Aureolec, it's actually faster if I know those increments, especially if all those characters are probably the same size. I don't have to do double digit math on every single character. And the other thing is that if you get through soak, you just do health. If you don't get through soak, you just do endurance. But a single point on these scales is always at least, well, it's always 1 pip. A damaged black hole means damage that just like doesn't do anything at all. Trickier Hades, they're based on size, which doesn't change very often, and tier, which changes very infrequently. Tier changes once every 6 to 10 adventures. Not often. So PCs are mostly, they're Kith, I mean, they're Orleans to Amawa kind of size. So then the idea here, all right, whoever is complaining about me using a graphic program, so the idea I had here is that you have, let me just do a thing here. Sure. Yes, MDCT. That's what I hope. That's what I hope. Some of my players are skeptical. I think they're wrong. So like, let's see here. I got 8. So that would probably do. Like how I would probably display something like this would be linearly, and I'd probably do something better than this. So don't get on my ass. Oops. Blooded. Two 2 pen steps minus 3 defenses. In cap. Dead. So, and I'm not dealing with endurance right now, but it's very similar. So you got your character, and your wound increment is 4, and you take 9 damage. Cool. That's 3. Just take them off. Great. 3. If you get bloodied, then you're bloodied. If you get past this, you're incapacitated. If you get down here, you're dead. And you could theoretically write the ranges in here. You could be like 1 to 4 and da 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 da. What else was I gonna say? I think this is kind of it. I do think allowing like certain things to move these. Oh, so some new things. That's right. That's another thing, Thirsty Mark. You could put a mark in there. It is pretty much just this range though. And this is really pretty much the same as it was before, meaning when you're halfway to incap, targeting the battering feature, it would probably say that that they just take more endurance damage, like even over the soak cap. So it would say like, oh, I target soak and I do damage up to whatever that, 3 times their soak threshold. Which could be a lot, or maybe it's double. Well, and yeah, MDCT, I just picked 4. It could be whatever. Whatever units I want. Or you want. I do think that the visual thing helps. Now, here's the other thing. So, what I would like to do is I had an idea for wounds. So I have like light wounds and heavy wounds. And maybe it's something like light wounds is 3 pip, and heavy is like 5 plus or something. I don't know. And I don't know if these are capped or not, but whatever. So what happens is, in combat, basically, you just know if I take 3 pips at once, or if I take 5 pips at once, then I just mark one of these. I just go doink. But I don't worry about it right now. Because it doesn't matter, and we're saying these are long-term effects, not necessarily in this combat. So I have to go back to my core principles here. I have to go back to there's short-term and long-term consequences. Short-term doesn't necessarily mean in the fight. I mean, you're already damaged. So we can say that it's really supposed to be, yeah, adrenaline is coursing through you, math can wait. Great. So the simple thing is it just says if you get 3 pips or if you get 5 pips, then you mark a light wound or a heavy wound respectively. Great. So if someone hits me and that, I took 9 damage and I go, boo, hey, that's a light wound. Then at the end of this, I cross one of these off for the rest of the adventure. I'm missing one. It's like X'd out instead of just like slashed out. Unusable until healed, basically. So it means I'm that much closer to bloodied and incap and dead. So that's the basic idea. Endurance is the same thing, but just it's just another track. That's pretty much it. And I think it really retains most of those components, the only thing in here basically is the idea that so if you take 12 damage and your soak is 9, then you're affecting health. And you do have to do the subtraction. So you subtract the 9, you have 3, but that's one tick. Great. Doesn't do any endurance damage because I'm trying to make it simpler. And just one tick of health is significant. Now, there's the potential that a bunch of rapid attacks could smack you through this quickly. That's a possibility. I need to do some testing on that. That's one potential concern. Toughness would prevent you from getting knocked out very quickly because very fractional values just wouldn't. Hi, Wayward GM. You could likely use hit points without dying or even hurting long term. Yes, which is okay because again, I don't necessarily want every dang hit to fuck you up. I want heavy, like big hits, the big guys. So it was always my intention that it was, look at this. Look at this ice. Still there. That's good. It's my first time using big ice. Well, in Araniki, it's not that they can't do seasonal stuff. It's that they can only do certain seasonal things. They can read books, they can learn in certain classes, they can teach. That's about it though. So it just kind of changes the possibilities of what they can do. It's supposed to be something they have to deal with, but not something that's gonna like super duper fuck them up usually. And with things like this, like these wounds, like you're getting hit real hard. Hi, Chrysanthus Rex. So anyway, all that being said, I think that this pretty much keeps all the other stuff, but it's just faster. I think it's just faster and it'll be simpler. And I think the visualization is usually faster and easier. I think. Like I said, there is some potential that like a bunch of light hits that bust through. Well, maybe toughness could always apply at the bottom end. I like this idea of there being a slight buffer of like, come on, dude. Come on. Need to think about it a little bit more. But anyway, that's kind of the idea there. So you're right. MDCT was right in that deferring some of this shit to later helps a bunch. Not making people always reduce both endurance and health, but just one, also helps. Making things in constant increments, I think, also helps. Making it a visual line also helps. I think all these things will make it faster. That's my opinion. Yeah. And I'm still worried about those edge cases of light damage, but maybe that's cool. Maybe it's cool that a bunch of little hits can fuck someone up super fast. And then healing would kind of work the same way, where you're healing. Yeah. Panic dice. Nice. That's an interesting concept. Thoughts on location-based damage in TTRPGs? So Trickier Hades, heavy wounds in this system can cause injuries. They're supposed to be pretty rare. I mean, if you're taking 5 fucking pips at once, that's a lot of damage. So you can take, it's not like, I don't really like dealing with cold shots a lot in the middle of battle, but I like the idea of like your arm's fucked up, your leg's fucked up, you got to deal with that for the rest of the thing. Like adversity, deal with it. Your stride is lower. Your accuracy, you can't hold a shield. You can't use two-handed weapons. Fucked up. Like, I like that sort of things, like injuries. I don't really dig systems that are like hold like people are constantly targeting parts of the body. But I like the idea of people getting specific injuries. Like my eye, I got my eyes fucked up. I have a concussion. I have severe burns. Like that stuff I think is infrequently is cool. I just don't like when it's all the time. Assuming both tracks have the same endpoint, it seems in a difficult battle with a two-tier damage system, endurance and health, it tactically makes sense for the attacker to do damage in a way that consistently targets either health or endurance in order to incapacitate faster, even though targeting health is better. Well, keep in mind that if you get either to half, if you get health to bloodied, then there's big penalties. And if you get endurance to winded, there are big penalties. Or lesser penalties, but still penalties you don't want. So burning one track down is useful, but what people have found in the system is generally if you get someone both bloodied and winded, um, then they will die very fast. Either they're going to get knocked out really fast or they're going to die really fast, like take health damage really fast. Um, but it's less about targeting. Um, you attack, and then the amount of the difference between your target, like the number you're trying to hit, and what you rolled, gives you extra damage dice. And if you do more damage, then you're more likely to get through soak. But as someone was saying earlier, there are certain weapons made for dealing with armor lords, maces, things like that, that specifically just do a shitload of damage to endurance and will knock people out very fast. But endurance is easy to heal on your own. You can just do something called catch your breath, and it heals a bunch of endurance. Just as a move action, you can do that. And a lot of spells that heal endurance heal a lot of it really quickly. So, Wayward GM, pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. You can get incapacitated by either track hitting 0, but health will cause wounds, which can or not permanently, but for the rest of the adventure can lower your max health. And they can also cause injuries, which is bad. So endurance kind of just goes like boing, 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 boing. Like, oh, I got knocked out. Battle's over. I'm fine. Great. Awesome. Let's keep going. So if you're going to take damage, you want it to be endurance, but you really don't want to take any damage. Endurance, like you can lose. Like we've had characters in our games who they just get incapped through loss of endurance, and it's just as bad in the battle because you're out, so someone needs to get you back up. And you're very vulnerable if someone wants to be nasty. Although, as the peaceful DM, I normally don't have my NPCs just outright murder people when they're unconscious. So, or they're technically not unconscious; they're incapacitated. They're just super fucked up. 4:25 in Buenos Aires. It's 12:23 a.m. Any idea for a skill that gives you a lot of endurance for a tiny bit of health? Um, well, recovery gives recovery, the fighter ability gives back like 4d6 endurance, I think, and 3d6 health. Fighters can go for a very long time. Or rather, people using discipline, or called fighters. But yeah. Um, there are different things that give you either higher or lower buffers. So you get, like your death threshold is lower or higher. Your winded threshold steps up. So for example, with heavy and medium armor, I would probably move the winded threshold a little bit. But again, I haven't completely thought about all this stuff. This is ideas I'm still working through. What's the game there? Yeah, I think most people here in Europe are on the West Coast because it's very. I was gonna stream earlier and I was having all these technical issues. Does magic drain you to pass out? Everyone who uses powers has a power pool, and you can do something called exert to cast powers beyond your ability or spontaneously or to do other special moves, and that eats endurance. And you can knock yourself out that way. But usually I would think a person wouldn't do something like that unless unless it was like live or die. Sekiro, yeah. By the way, there are also some weapons that are specifically for like enemy is in vulnerable state, fuck them up. Stilettos. Stilettos do low base damage, low base and crit damage, and then they have a mode if you're skilled enough with light blades called Mercy Stroke, and it switches the crit die and the damage die. So if you are if you think you're going to get a lot of crits, which meaning you're going to hit by a very large margin, then use a Mercy Stroke. Because what happens is instead of rolling 2d6 with 1d6 crit, you're rolling 1d6 with 2d6 crits. And if you have like 5 crits, it's very bad. Yeah, Winded's consequences. Winded is similar. Winded is 1 penalty step and minus 2 defenses. So if you're bloodied and winded, you have 3 penalty steps and minus 5 defenses. Yeah, stiletto in the hands of a rogue that is doing ambushes and things like that is Hedonist Prince. I use all the normal D&D dice. So 2d10 is used for attacks, d20s are used for advantage, disadvantage, and then all the other dice are used for damage, pretty much. Different things and in different amounts. So you can be rolling 5d6 or 3d12 or whatever, depends. All right, well, I think that's about it. I think I'm feeling fairly confident about this. A couple more things to work out, but I think it's a lot better than the other system, which was that. I think it's a lot better than that. All right, everybody, thanks for your patience. And, so MDCT, the reason why I'm talking through it so much is because we just got the Foundry implementation of the current system, and I was like, I don't like this. We had been playing with it, but now we're playing with it more robustly, and I'm like, I don't dig this. So before I have the programmer implement all this shit, and a couple of my players are leery of it. They're like, it sounds like the same amount of work, and I'm like, I think it's going to be easier. So I think we're going to do it in a couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll probably be a few weeks because Russell, who is doing all the coding, is currently doing some more work on powers. and that's probably going to take him through the week. So I don't want to dump a bunch of stuff on him yet, but we'll see. Lidsill, thinking of doing a system where you use abilities, you need to have resources, stamina, and focus in certain tiers. You need high tier stamina to perform complex, and high tier focus for precision actions. These resources are drained or restored. I think that works totally fine. In the pillar system, everyone has a power pool for their power sources, and they use those. And then they have endurance, which is normally a combat, like a thing that absorbs damage. But if you want to spontaneously use a power, meaning make one up out of nothing, then that costs endurance. And there are certain moves that can use endurance. Lidzel, it's I think it's gonna the gotchas will come down to the specifics of the mechanics. The concept is sound. Like I think the concept I had up here was sound, but the mechanics I was using it with was not sound. It was bad. Or rather, it couldn't do this last point. The system just didn't accomplish it. Concerned about giving max pools at the start? Well, then give half and then do something like combat momentum where pools build up over time. So if you want to do your super massive shit, then you need to conserve and do baby stuff so that by round 3 or 4 you can do your massive shit. I think there are plenty of systems that have something like combat momentum integrated into it where you can't do your fancy shit right away. You have to build up to it, either mechanically or just through time. Or like, when I say mechanically, I mean you do actions that build you, and then, hey, now I can do this stuff. The other way would be to say X amount of time. For every amount of time that passes, more things get unlocked, and then everyone goes fucking nuts with their supers, so to speak. Like monks taking wounds. Yeah, any of the builder type characters, things like that. All right, it's 12:30 here, so I'm gonna leave and go to bed. Hopefully, go to the gym tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you later.